Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mangs and I welcome you guys back to another Patreon Q&A video. This is the show where I answer questions from my patrons. It can be about anything, not just Fire Emblem, and I answer each question as detailed as I possibly can. There's quite a lot of them, about 15 to 20 questions or so. There's going to be a link in the video description and a pinned comment with timestamps and the questions, so if you just want to jump ahead to a certain question, or maybe there's some you want to skip, you can take advantage of that to just go straight to where you want to be. I'm also going to make it so that 1 hour after this video comes out, there's going to be a Patreon hangout on my Discord. So if you recently just clicked this and it just came out, then head over to my Discord if you're part of my Patreons and join the Patreon Lounge voice chat. We'll be hanging out there for a couple of hours, just having fun, maybe playing some games and making some memes. So yeah, let's just start out with the first question, shall we? So the first question of today comes in from Anonymous. Sadly, a lot of these people forget to include their signature in the questions, so I don't know who they are. And Anonymous says, or asks, "Hey Mangs, what's the worst game you've ever completed?" Oh, that's easy. That's Revelation. You see, I'm very stingy on games. I don't complete games I don't like. At least not all the time. So, but when I came to Revelation, I was kind of forced to play through it because I was Let's Playing it, and it was a Fire Emblem game. Revelation might just be one of the only Let's Plays I've ever rage quit halfway through. I'm of course talking about Correlations. I think this was the third or the second time I did it. I don't remember, but I got halfway through it. And I just said on stream, sorry, I'm not doing this anymore. This game is killing my will to play Fire Emblem, and that's not good. So, yeah, I just quit it halfway through. But the first time around, I did play it all the way through, and I regret that. Revelation is the worst thing that has ever come out of Fire Emblem, and I think I would rather stab myself with a rusty spoon than play it again. That's how much I hate it. So the next question comes in from Trident, and he asks, "Is there anything Fire Emblem related that you would like to do on your channel that hasn't been done before?" Well, I think that I do a lot of new things on the channel all the time, such as the PMS. That was a pretty new idea. It's a little bit like PME, but sort of different, at least how me and Mech are pulling it off. And like randomizers are always unique to your channel. For a while I wanted to play Arcanaya Saga, but I see that a couple of people have done that already, and it's not a very interesting game, honestly. It's a lot of trouble to set up. So I don't really know if there's anything right now that I would like to do that's like super original, but I like to brainstorm with Mecha a lot, and we usually come up with a lot of creative ideas. We might play like a game against each other soon, where we like play at the same time and live stream it and see who can do it the best or something like that. But right now I don't really have a definite answer to that question, but I do always try to think of new and creative things to do on the channel all the time. The next question comes in from Chris G, who asks, "Is there any character who you have drastically changed your opinion about over the years?" Yes, there is actually one. Like, I was trying to think about, like, personality-wise, but not really. There's not any characters that I've taken a complete 180 on, but gameplay-wise, definitely Shana. I have played Binding Blade probably 20 times as a young teenager. I love that game. I tried using everyone, and my least favorite character was always Shana, or I would call her Thani, because I used to play with the old translation patch, and I never used Shana. I hated her low strength. I hated how frail she was. I just didn't understand what she could do. Mecha actually made a Pitfall video centered on Shana. Like, there's a pitfall not to use Shana. And ever since I started using Shana, the FE6 early game has been so much easier. There's so much amazing stuff she can do. She's great at rescuing. She's great at, like, rescue dropping. She can fly around. She's actually not bad in combat either. Once she gets a couple levels on her, her bases are actually a lot better than you think. And yeah, she's just really good. If you early promote her at level 10, 11, or 12, she becomes amazing for the Western Isles, where she can use her sword to farm on the pirates. She's just a really, I think, maybe one of the most underrated units in Binding Blade, probably. And I would also say that Thea is better because she has like a higher strength growth. Thea is trash compared to Shana, absolutely. So yeah, definitely Shana. I used to hate her, now she's one of my favorite characters in Binding Blade. So the next question comes in from Anonymous, who asks, "Bit of a speculation question, but with how mounts seem to be a weapon rank in FE16, do you believe the ranks are just solely there for class options, or do you believe that perhaps unlike other games in the series, mounts will now be an item instead of just part of the unit?" No. This question was asked before the recent news dump, so I'm sorry if it's a little bit outdated, but I do believe that the rank is solely just there for reclassing purposes. I don't think that mounts will be able to be an item. There doesn't seem to be any dismounting in FE16 as far as we know. The only sort of like restriction on mounted units that we've seen thus far is that they can't cross drawbridges, but we don't know how many maps will have drawbridges on them. So no, I think when you're a Cavalier, you can't really do anything with your horse. It's just part of the unit, but you need a certain rank in order to reclass into certain mounted options. That's the only thing I can see right now. Based on all the information that we've had, I am like 99.9% sure that this is going to be the case. Next question comes in from Wadavadavui, and he asks, what does Mangs mean? Is it a nickname or is it your actual name? No, my real name is Magnus, which actually means big and powerful in Norse mythology. That's kind of funny. Mangs is just a shortening of Magnus. My nickname, actually as a kid, used to be Margal. You can see my Reddit name, my Reddit account, which I probably made when I was like 13 or something. It is actually named Margal. But then people didn't like Margal. They thought it sounded too ominous. I was a big Lord of the Rings fan at the time, and Margal, I think it was kind of inspired by the Nazgul from that story. It was very evil sounding. And then a friend of mine made a D&D character based on me. We were gonna like make characters based on each other, and he made a character named Mangs von Braun, and that was sort of how it started. I just became Mangs. Now my Norwegian friends actually call me Mangs. They don't say Mangs, they say Mangs. As it's pronounced a little bit differently, but no, it is just a nickname. So the next question comes in from Helios1097, and he asks, what are your opinions on character stance? And that means people who love a character / celebrity to the point of obsession. I think that most people have an aversion towards obsessive behavior. I know why you asked this question, and I'm sorry if it gets a little personal, but you are now known for being the Valoria guy in my Discord chat. Not just my Discord, I know a lot of other Discord servers have commented on the same thing. You spam pictures of Valoria non-stop, and nearly every single message that you make has Valoria in it, which is why I think it's kind of weird that you put Nile as your avatar, but I mean, hey, nice to spice it up a little bit, I guess. As I said, I think if your goal is to make other people like your character, I think that being obsessed with them and constantly talking about them, I actually think it serves against your purpose. I think this will serve to make people dislike your character, actually, because as I said, we have an aversion towards obsessive behavior. When someone is obsessing to the point of like being almost fanatical, we kind of view that as a little bit crazy, and we tend to distance ourselves from it. It's just not, I don't think a lot of people consider it proper behavior. Now, a lot of people are going to call me out and let's say that I obsess over Luis. Yeah, in some ways, maybe I do, but I don't mention Luis in every single sentence I say, nor is like all my Twitter posts or social media posts centered around Luis. Yeah, sure, she's like my waifu and I really like her, but I don't spend a lot of time talking about Luis, I would say, on a personal level. Yeah, when she came out in Heroes, I was very happy, but so would anyone who just got their waifu added into the game. So, yeah, I think a lot of people would say that it's a bit annoying. It's a little bit counterintuitive if you want people to actually like your character. And I think people just get a little bit tired of it, honestly, when you constantly talk about that one character that you really like. I think people sort of, they distance themselves from it because they feel like there's really nothing I can say or contribute to this conversation. Like, say you're in a conversation with someone who just, like, loves Anna from Fire Emblem, right? You try to open up a conversation with them, and all they do is just constantly talk about how much they love Anna and how Anna's the greatest character ever. It doesn't really become a discussion, really. It doesn't become a conversation. It just becomes you ranting about Anna. So when you obsess over something too much, I think it's mostly negative, honestly, if I'm going to be completely honest. Yeah, maybe you can find some other people who love the same character as you do, and you can, like, fanboy or fangirl together. That's probably good and all, but I think if you really like your character and you want other people to like your character, you should probably calm down a little bit and not talk about your character all the time. But for me personally, if you only want to know my opinion about it, it's much the same, really. I think it's a little bit annoying. I think it's a little bit weird, and I don't really like it, if I'm going to be completely honest. But if it makes you happy to obsess over a character, if that gives you joy in life and you feel like this is what makes you happy, then as long as you don't break any rules and you don't piss off people too much, I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, so yeah, I hope that answers your question. So the next question comes in from A Reliable Chair, and he says, "Sup, dude? I'm good, dude." So this is the guy who made Heroes We Deserve, by the way. I recognize his username. Your hack is pretty awesome. I'm enjoying it. So the next question comes in from Gorgonzola, and he asks, do you ever daydream of your own story and characters you would write for Fire Emblem or a Fire Emblem-like setting? Oh yeah, sure, all the time. Making a Fire Emblem game has been my dream for a little while now, and I know we've sort of made the PMEs, but that's not really an original Fire Emblem game. That's more like a Fire Emblem game with a lot of edits to it. There was one setting that I really wanted to make a while back. I wanted to work on a Fire Emblem pirate style game where you played as a crew that would grow and you would sail from island to island, a little bit Monkey Island style. We would take advantage of the FE8 map to just like sail around on a boats. And yeah, just go ahead and be pirates, really. I even had a concept art for a main character called Christy. I believe I still have it. I'm going to put it up on screen right now. I got my friend to sketch this, and she was like, how is she going to look? I was like, I don't know, blonde, huge titties, and pirate babe. And I was pretty happy with the result, honestly. Not sure if she would look like that, maybe. I mean, it would be kind of funny, actually, to have that as my main character, even though I know her tits are very oversized in that image. But that's sort of a dream that I had. I also had another dream, like a Roman emblem, Fire Emblem style game, where you play as sort of like with legionnaires and cataphracts and ballistas and stuff like that, but that sounds like a lot of work to make. I think it would be easier to make a pirate emblem hack, honestly, because there's already a lot of pirate classes in the game that you could take advantage of. There's already ships and stuff like that. So that would be fun. There's also a third concept that I have been working on for a little while, but I'm not going to say anything about that because that might actually come out one day. We might already have started working on it. But it's a bit of a hobby project. It's moving around very slowly, so I'm not going to say anything more about it. But yeah, the pirate emblem hack would be a lot of fun to make, though. So the next question comes in from Dave Daval Kale, and he asks, "What's your favorite type of cuisine? Is it somewhere European, Asian, or something a bit more simple?" I pretty much eat everything. I'm not very picky when it comes to food. If it's on my plate, I usually finish it. Even if I don't like love food, I will still eat it regardless if I'm served. I just think it's very rude not to. But I do like Asian cuisine. I really do. When I was in Japan, I've been to Japan twice, and I really loved most of everything I was served down there. There was the occasional dish that I didn't like, but I ate it anyway. But I gotta say, the Asians really know how to make food. So the next question comes in from Razalon, and he asks, "Dear Mbanks, which two Fire Emblem characters would you take out of Smash, and which two would you replace them with? Also, do you have any preferred Fire Emblem shippings?" I don't know if I would take any Fire Emblem characters out of Smash. Actually, you know what? I would. Take Corrin out. Corrin's dumb. And, like, I don't want to take Robin out, because I actually like playing Robin, but I think out of all the characters that are in there, I think... I don't know. Maybe Lucina. No, not really. I like Lucina too. I don't know. Probably. Can I just take both Corins out? Does that count as two characters? Let's just go with that. Yeah, let's just take both Corins out. I think Hector should be in Smash. Hector would be a really, really cool choice. I think that he would have a really cool moveset. They could incorporate the helicopter axe as sort of a recovery move. I imagine he would be like very slow, but he would like hit really hard. He could have like a really cool charge up attack that like causes thunder from his arm mats and stuff like that. So for the second character, I honestly think they should just put in a Treehouse's character, like Edelgard, Claude, or Dimitri. Either of those would be fine, honestly. Maybe Edelgard using axes would be a bit overkill, considering Hector would also use axes. It would be cool to see Claude, just like straight up bow character. Like, don't give him any melee attacks, just ranged attacks. This sounds cancerous as hell. I would love it. Also, with the shipping question, I have always shipped Lyn and Hector. I think that they are perfect for each other. They have exactly the kind of chemistry that I like in a couple. Contrary to popular belief, I actually do like strong women characters. It's just I like it when they don't get to run roughshod over the males. And that's why I love Hector so much, because he comes in, Lyn goes all like stubborn on his ass, and he just goes, duh, fuck you. And she really likes it. And I don't know, I really like that dynamic. Like, Hector doesn't take shit from anyone. And yet they still have all these really cool scenes, like when they're on the boat and stuff, that really touched me as a teenager. So yeah, Hector X Lyn all the way. So the next question comes in from Anonymous, who asks two questions. Will we ever see that Felicia spotlight? And also, have you considered playing any of the Langrisser games? So I'm going to say the first one, yes, Felicia is in the queue, and I'm going to throw a link in the video description you can check out. It's called the Spotlight queue. There's a Google Doc that I update every time a new request comes in, and you can see all the characters that are queued up right there. Felicia is still pretty far down in the queue because I got so many, but I've recently talked to my designer Jake, and he's going to help me edit some spotlights. I'm planning on getting them out a little bit quicker now. I've done like one spotlight a month up until now, and it's not good, so I definitely need to go through that list a lot faster than I currently have. Now, as for your second question, if I've ever wanted to play Langrisser, not really. I'm sorry. I don't really like gacha games. I don't play gacha games. I only play Heroes because it's Fire Emblem. Oh, people always go like, oh, you should play Langrisser and Azure Lane and blah, blah, blah. No, sorry, no. Unless it's Fire Emblem, I'm probably not touching it. So the next question comes in from Patarino, who asks, "Hey Mangs, what are your plans for the rest of the year for your channel?"
So I imagine that Fire Emblem 16 potentially will eat up a lot of my time, depending on how good it is. If FE16 is the good game that I think it might be, then probably a huge portion of my channel will be devoted to that game. Let's Plays of it, I'll probably like Let's Play 3 times to go through all the houses. There will be Fire Emblem 16 character spotlights, there will be videos about FE16. If it sort of duds out a little bit like Echoes did, then I imagine I won't be focusing on it all that much. It might just be one Let's Play and that's about it. So if that's the case, then yeah, I'll be probably doing some other big projects. But if FE16 turns out being good, I imagine that's probably going to be the main focus of my channel for the rest of 2019. Aside from that, you'll see things like you always do, like obscure ROM hack Let's Plays, shitposts, and the like. So the next question comes in from Denning Skittles, and he asks, "This is a question from Lord Nergal. I await you on the Dread Isle? Question mark?" So yeah. Hey, fun fact, Louise actually sent me this picture. She met a Denning cosplayer at a con she went to. Pretty cool, right? I know that's not part of your question, but I figured I had to show you something, because your question's not really a question. We all know he awaits you on the Dread Isle. So the next question comes in from Raptor980, and he asks, "Have you ever been in any fights or physical altercations? If so, what was it like? Did you win any?" So I've only ever been in one real, like, serious fight in my life, but I've been in multiple competitions. You may not know this about me, but I actually have a black belt in karate. Here's my belt, and here's my name on it. It says Magnusu. Sorry, I hit my keyboard a little bit there. And here's a picture of me training in the dojo, in case you guys don't believe me. I have actually practiced karate for a long time. I still do, 2 times a week. I'm not super good at it, but I was at least good enough to get a black belt, so that's nice to know. My sensei always tells me I don't really have talent, but I'm pretty good at working hard to overcome my weaknesses. I'm kind of like a student in Tree Houses that I was like bad in everything. I also used to work at sort of like, I wouldn't say it's like a mental asylum. I worked in like a place where they keep very violent students, like students that are too violent and too aggressive to be in normal schools. They get sort of put into these, I wouldn't call them daycares. It's sort of like an education center, but for like really difficult students. And I would constantly like have to defend myself from attacks in that job. But of course we received special training. We were never alone with these students, but like we would always be with 1 or 2 other people. But I would often experience that, for example, one time at work, one of the students brought a knife and he pulled it on me, and luckily we were like 3 people in the room, so we just like put him down immediately. But it was sort of a dangerous job. The pay was pretty good though. But aside from the one real fight, and like I've only ever been in one big fight. I was 18 years old. I had just gotten my driver's license. I was dating this girl. She's pretty, redhead. And she was a lot of trouble. I didn't know this when I got together with her, but she used to date a former gang leader or something along those lines. And she didn't tell me about this until some time into the relationship. So we were driving. We were driving to a McDonald's that was open at night. It was very late. I was just going in to get us a couple of Big Macs to take home. She was in the car. I just went in, and the moment I got into the McDonald's, there were like 5 people there. Turns out that was her ex and 4 of his gang members. I don't know if they were waiting for me or not. They might have. I don't know how they were supposed to know we were going through the McDonald's, but they were just all there. And the moment he saw me, he was like, you're dating my girlfriend. In his mind, they hadn't broken up yet. They were just having some issues, even though she had clearly broken up with him many times. He was an abusive fucker. And so honestly, the whole scene is like a blur to me because everything happened so fast, but out of nowhere they just attack me, and I don't even remember the fight. I just remember lots of screaming and blood, and it was just like but somehow I came out of it relatively unscathed. I had a few bruised ribs, I had like a blue eye. But I sent 3 of those guys to the hospital, so I must have done something right. Then again, I took my black belt when I was 18, so I started training karate when I was 12, actually. So at that point, I already knew a lot about martial arts, so I think most of that fight just happened on instinct. But I beat them up pretty badly. Sadly, the boyfriend, he ran away from the fight, so I never actually got my hands on him. But he didn't bother me after that, and I told my girlfriend what happened, and she thought it was really cool. But I personally was very unnerved by the whole situation. I didn't really like it at all. I have always loathed violence. I didn't like it. I struggled a little bit mentally after that. I was very afraid. So even though I got out of it and I sort of won, it sort of left a bad impact on me, and it just convinced me further that like you should always avoid violence whenever you can. Even if you win the fight, it's just not fun. So yeah, generally I don't get into fights. So the next question comes in from Anonymous, who asks, why do fans of older Fire Emblem games seem to dislike fans from newer games? Or has this trend died out finally? I wouldn't say this trend would ever die out, but it has gotten a lot better. This was at its worst when Awakening launched, because for a very long time we were without any new Fire Emblem games, and the franchise was kind of thought dead. And then when Awakening came in, it sort of revitalized everything, brought in a ton of new players, and there was a huge conflict between the old and the new. Back then it was really bad, but now it's gotten a lot better, I'd say, because we get new games all the time, so people are a little bit more used to the influx of new people. It is also something that I feel the Fire Emblem community has matured a little bit over. I actually see a lot of people getting called out on their bullshit right now when they call people noobs and like, go play like you little baby. Back when I was young, we played the real game. Like, people will actually just call you a jerk for that right now. At least on places like the subreddit and Serenus Forest, you'll just sort of get people will just tell you to shut your mouth. Now, as to why old fans hate new fans, first of all, hate is a strong word. I wouldn't say hate. I would say like dislike. They dislike newer fans. And I think there's a lot of reasons as to why, but the most prominent feeling, I think, is we get a bit salty when we see people experience the joy of playing a game for the first time, because secretly we want that feeling back. Playing a Fire Emblem game for the first time is something you can only do once. Once you've done it, you'll never get that experience back again. I will never be able to go back and play Binding Blade for the first time, experiencing the story for the first time. I will never be able to go back and play Blazing Sword for the first time, or experience the ending of Generation 1 of Fire Emblem 4 for the first time. These are experiences that are unique, and they cannot be replicated ever again. And there's a sourness to that, I think, that really bothers older fans of the series that have played every single Fire Emblem game there is, that, you know, sort of don't get to have those new experiences anymore. When we see someone come in, blue-eyed and innocent and pure, if you will, and say like, oh, I'm playing FE7 for the first time and blah, 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 blah. It's very easy to feel a bit of contempt for that person, as they're experiencing something that you want to experience, but you can't really admit that to yourself, you know, because you're an old veteran, you're proud of that, but at the same time, you sort of wish you could just bleach your memory and go back and experience everything for the first time again. I think that's a big part of it. Another part is, I simply think that we see a lot of the things we hate in ourselves in newer players, especially when they come in and say things like Marcus suck. We get annoyed because these are things we used to say, but so we're sort of taking out our frustration on our former selves out on them, you know? I think there's a bit of bitterness to the whole equation between newer and older players. I think we're mostly just angry with ourselves, and also it's a bit of a pride thing, you know. If you've been around some place for 10 years, like if you've been part of the Fire Emblem community for many years, and you fashion yourself a veteran, you have a bit of pride associated with yourself and that. And when someone comes in, they're new, you sort of feel the need to put them in their place. This is not something that's unique to Fire Emblem. We see that everywhere in every single community. Try going into the Smash community. If you're a noob in Smash and you try to talk to people, they're gonna call you a baby, you know. It's just how we humans work. When we feel like we've earned our place in any given community, we have a tendency to, you know, treat newer people a little bit harshly because they're noobs and we sort of got to teach them their place. I think this is something very hierarchical, if I can use that word, something very basic, something instinctual in all humans. It's just how the hierarchy works. You come into a hierarchy, you're new, you're going to get stepped on by the older guys. They're going to have to show you and put you in your place. We see this even among animals, in animal packs, you know? The young wolf comes into the big wolf pack, the alpha wolf is going to like put him in his place and tell him to like fucking get in line. I think it's very primal. I think it's very basic. It doesn't mean I excuse the behavior. I think it's good that we're getting over it because it's not good for the community. We should welcome newer players with open arms and teach them how to play Fire Emblem in a nice, respectful way, because at the end of the day, we want the Fire Emblem community to grow as big as it possibly can. The bigger the franchise, the better it is. I know a lot of people might disagree with that, but I think it's, I always think it's positive when we get more players. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. So the next question comes in from Round Lake 1, who asks, how do you think the new Fire Emblem game is shaping out to be? Has your excitement grown in the months leading up to the release? Absolutely. When I first initially saw screenshots from Tree Houses, I was not impressed. I thought it looked like shit. I didn't like the Warriors engine. I was really, really worried. Then as news started to flow in, And it turns out that the game is very, very inspired. It's sort of like the love child between the Drugdrawl and the Tellius series, which are two of my favorite series. So obviously I'm very excited about that. I mean, yeah, sure, I know just putting Holy Blood in the game shouldn't be enough to make me excited, but for some reason it just does. I don't know, so many of the things that I've seen from it so far indicates to me that it might actually be a good game, and I am very excited for it. Right now, I am very hyped and very positive, so I hope that continues. So the next question comes in from Rinku, who asks, "Hey Mangs, first off I'd like to thank you for all the great content you've produced and all the laughs and memes you brought to the community. It means a lot to me and a lot to others. Thank you, that means a lot to me to hear." He then follows up with, "For my question, what tips for saving financially would you give? I'm myself a frugal person, so I figured this question might be able to help the younger members of your audience." So, this is gonna sound really dumb, but, like, don't support me on Patreon. I mean, I love that you do it. I'm really grateful to you all who support me, but if you struggle financially, you shouldn't support people on Patreon. That should come once you're in a more stable place and you're able to actually contribute to your favorite content creators. However, aside from that, I think that the first thing you need to do is just be aware of what you spend money on. Do you have access to your account via your computer? I mean, you said younger members, so I assume you're pretty young, but like I can log into my accounts on my computer and I can see my monthly expenses. This is a must if you want to get a little bit more conscious about the money you spend. Just make sure you log on every month and just see, what did I spend money on this month? Check out, like, how much do you spend on food? How much did you spend on convenience? How much did you spend on necessities? Being aware of what things cost, I think, is the biggest key to becoming more economical. The moment you're aware of what things are worth and how much they're worth to you, that's when you can take steps to actually control your spending. For example, you should never beat yourself up over the necessities in life. For example, if you drive a car and you're really dependent on that car maybe to get to work, you shouldn't beat yourself up over how much money you spend on gas. You can't control that, you need that gas. You can maybe try to drive a little bit less outside of work, but aside from that, you shouldn't beat yourself up over that. Second, you shouldn't cut too much spending on when it comes to food. Now, if you're young, you probably live with your mom and you can eat whatever your mom makes, but if you live by yourself, then I actually spend most of my money on food. I think eating high quality food is important, not just for your health. I think it's good for your well-being. I have a friend who just eats like the shittiest food brands because he wants to save money. He likes spending money on his hobbies instead. So he spends so little money on food, but I actually think it's gonna hurt him because generally the cheaper food you get, the crappier and less low quality or more low quality it is. So just be aware of what you spend your money on each month. That's going to go a very long way towards helping you make better choices. Also, if you play Heroes, remove your card from the Heroes store. You know how your phone allows you to like save your Visa or your MasterCard? Just fucking purge that shit away from here. Don't spend a dime on Heroes. I did it twice when I was drunk and I feel horrible. You shouldn't spend any money on gacha games. Seriously. Heroes is more fun when you're free to play. You'll appreciate all the heroes that you get on your own without having to pay for them. Do not sink any money into Heroes. I really mean that. It's way overpriced. That goes for really any gacha game. I know that a lot of you guys spend a lot of hours playing gacha games on a daily basis and that you feel like it's important for you to sink some money into it, but that's just my advice. Gacha games are so expensive. Just don't. You'll have more fun if you don't spend any money on them. At least that's what I think. And yeah, finally, just one thing I will say, why are you saving? Why are you saving? Like, is there something you are not able to afford? If in that case, then you should save. Is there a trip you want to go on, a vacation you want to undertake? Yeah, sure, you should save money. But if you don't have any specific goal and you're just saving money for the sake of saving money, I would say you're probably doing it wrong. I think that if you focus too much on money, you're gonna lose out on something really important. For example, the trip that I just the trip that I just went to in Canada for Anime North, that cost me a lot, and it was just a weekend. It was like a weekend plus Monday. And economically, you might be saying to me, like, Mangs, you should not have taken that trip. I even had to buy 2 flight tickets because they fucked up my visa. But for me personally, that trip was worth more than any money in the world because I made memories for life that I will remember until the day that I die. I made friendships that I will probably last for a very long while. I don't regret a single dime that I spent on that trip, and you shouldn't ever regret trading money in for experiences. Traveling in general is a great thing to save up for. So yeah, I know that that's a bit of a shitty advice, like, don't worry about saving. we do get that crammed into our heads from when we're small. Save, 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 save. And it is true that it is nice to save money for a rainy day. It sucks to be poor. It really does. But honestly, as long as you can pay your rent, as long as you eat well, and as long as you have the money to travel every now and then, I don't really see why you should focus too much on saving up money. That's at least that's my 2 cents on it. I know I'm not a good person to give advice on these kind of things. There's a reason I run a Fire Emblem channel and not a economic channel. And if you ever watched any of my Fire Emblem playthroughs and how I handle money in those, I think you can probably conclude that I'm not the best person to be asking this question. But yeah. Anyway, I hope you got some value out of that. So the next question comes in from Hanzo, and he asks, what do you enjoy doing in your free time when you're not doing anything YouTube related? Oh, YouTube is such a huge part of my day that I sometimes forget I ever do anything else, because when I'm not making YouTube videos, I'm usually watching YouTube videos. But I do love working out. I lift a lot. I like going to the gym, and I like working out with my friends. I also have a huge passion for cooking, especially barbecuing. I have a barbecue outside, and I do love making food on it. I also like airsofting. There's been a couple of videos on my channel of me going airsofting with pansergrad. That's basically when you go out and shoot each other with fake plastic bullets. I love taking trips in the forest. I love walking in the mountains. I love being out in nature, really. And I also used to play a lot of board games. I play Pathfinder, which is sort of like Dungeons & Dragons. It's like a offshot game from Dungeons & Dragons, which I play every month with a group of 6 people. So that's a huge passion of mine. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a creative guy. I like creating things. That's what I do. So the next question comes in from Anonymous, who asks, I've wanted to start working out for a while now, but every time I think I should start, I instantly lose all motivation. How did you stay motivated when you first start working out? It's not about motivation. Motivation is your biggest ally, but also one of your biggest enemies. If you rely on motivation to work out, you're going to fail. If you're like, oh man, I'm not motivated to do this. I wish I was more motivated to do this. Fuck motivation. Throw it to the sidelines. Motivation cannot have any part in what you're doing. You gotta make it a habit. You gotta make it part of your schedule. And you just gotta religiously follow that schedule, regardless of what happens. So basically, if you rely on motivation to get shit done, you are sort of putting yourself at the mercy of forces outside your control. Motivation comes and goes. You have very little control over motivation. Sometimes you feel motivated, sometimes you don't. So what you do is you write it down. You write this down. Studies have actually shown that if you write something down, you are 50% more likely to do it. You go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Those are my gym days. Before I go to work or school or after I come home or whatever time of day that suits your schedule, you say, these are the days I will go work out. And that's the end of it. No discussions. No, I don't feel like it. No, I don't know. No, just go. Just do it. I know it's a bit of a Shia LaBeouf meme, do it. But seriously, you cannot let your motivation dictate what you do and what you don't do. You're not going to be motivated. Like, I have probably every other day that I go to the gym, I tell myself, man, I don't really want to do it. I don't really feel like working out today. My body hurts. I'm tired. I just want to take it easy. I don't want to go. Fuck that. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is your gym days. Doesn't matter how you feel. Doesn't matter what you think. You go. Write it down. It's as simple as that. I know it's a bit of a bullshit advice, but it's the best advice I can give you. Fuck motivation. Next question comes in from Horace Hogan, who asks, has there ever been a character that you thought you would love but ended up hating? Or in contrast, has there ever been a character you thought you would hate but ended up loving? Camilla from Fates was a character I thought I'd love but ended up hating. When I first saw her, there's like a very brief clip of her where she walks towards Corin, where you don't see her panty window or anything like that. She just walks over to you and her boobs bounce. It was part of the original Fates trailer. When I saw that for the first time, I was like, oh my god, there's my waifu, because we've never really seen tits like that in a Fire Emblem game before. Camilla was very extreme based on everything else we've experienced so far. So I was like, wow, I'm gonna love this character. And then she ended up being maybe one of my least characters ever. To contrast this, I'd say maybe Rad from Shadow Dragon, because I hated him. He's like this Myrmidon with really shitty bases that is so bad. But once Mecha made him a meme, he became one of my favorite characters. But that was mainly because of like the stupid fanfiction that we found on Serenus Forest. But now Rad is a meme, and I'm very happy about that. So the next question comes in from Anonymous, who asks, Azura Spotlight, when? So I was actually originally going to round up my Fates Royal train with Azura, because, I did all the Royals after one another, and I'm really happy I did that, because I got a ton of views on them. But once I was done doing the last character, which I think was, I don't remember, was it Hinoka? I think it was Hinoka. I was just so tired of Fates, I had to take a break, and I just never got back to Azura. However, if you become a silver tier Patreon, I don't know what tier you are who asked this question, you can request the Azura Spotlights, and I will do it. It's gonna take a while to get through all the spotlights, but I will get there eventually. Then it's time for the last question. This one comes in from Firelands, who asks, would you speedrun a Fire Emblem game if you could, and what Fire Emblem game would that be? Also, you aren't kidding about the dick reveal at 1 million subs, are you? I'm not a big speedrunner. I could try it maybe. Sounds like a lot of fun, honestly. I think Binding Blade would be a fun game to speedrun. It's just that speedrunning is just something you gotta devote a lot of time to. You gotta really learn a game inside out. I already know quite a bit about Fire Emblem Binding Blade, but not enough to speedrun it comfortably. I would need to sink a whole shit ton of time into that, and there's just so many other people like Kirby Master just does it so much better than me. So it's a big time commitment, it's a big investment, and I'm not sure if I'd get a lot out of it. Maybe some people would like watching that. I'd probably get a little bit of a following from doing that, but I'm not sure if it's the best way to spend my time. Also, regarding the dick reveal, I did say, like, jokingly that I wouldn't mind streaming, like, a stream over on Pornhub and doing a dick reveal, but honestly, after the whole Pro Jared thing, I don't think I ever want to do that, even jokingly, because I just don't think it's a good thing to do for your career. So yeah, those are all the questions that I had for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed your answers. Once again, I would like to end this by just saying thank you so much to all the amazing Patreon who support me month in, month out. You guys are really just such a big reason for me doing this every single day. I can't believe where I'd be without you guys. You are really the best. I hope you guys get something out of these videos, and definitely go join the Patreon Hangout if you haven't already. It should still be up now if you watched this entire video right when it came out. If not, I hope you'll join for the next one. I do them once per month. The idea was to have them on the 15th every month, but because of my hectic, ever-changing schedule, that's harder and harder to do, but that was at least the initial idea. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. I really love you all. You are the best. And as always, I shall see you guys next time. Bye-bye.